Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the One Piece podcast that dives deep into the Grand Line. We are covering chapter 235 today. I swear upon this.
And what a title! It feels like a promise being made right before a leap of faith. It's a declaration, binding oneself to a future that is completely unknown.
A leap of faith is putting it lightly. We end this chapter staring into the abyss, a whirlpool so massive it looks like the ocean is being unplugged, and our crew has to sail right into the middle of it. It's not a leap, it's a full-on cannonball.
And the log pose is just pointing straight up. The laws of nature, the very physics that govern their world, are being rewritten in real time. It's confirming the madness.
This is the kind of adventure that proves you're on the Grand Line. If you want to take this plunge into the sky with us every week, make sure you're part of our crew by being subscribed. You don't want to miss the launch. Let's get into it.
The chapter opens on Nami, and she is not happy.
Oh, she is fuming. 46 minutes late. This isn't just casual frustration. This is the anger of a master planner whose entire meticulously crafted equation is being ruined by one chaotic variable. She's doing the math, she's got the schedule down to the second, and she knows they are cutting it impossibly close to hitting the knock-up stream. You can just feel the stress radiating off the page.
It's the pressure of being the single most responsible person on a ship full of chaos agents. She assumes Luffy is late because he didn't account for the weight of the gold slowing him down.
Which is so Nami, and it's so telling about her character. It's a generous assumption. She gives him the benefit of the doubt that he was just thinking incorrectly. She's already factored the gold into her mental map of the day's events.
It shows that she respects the goal, at least. But Sanji and Usopp are right there to be the voice of reason, or perhaps the voice of experience. They are like, nope, you're giving him way too much credit. The concept of time does not exist in that man's head.
They know their captain. They've seen him get distracted by the silliest things, get lost on a perfectly straight path. They understand that Luffy operates on a timeline that consists of now and not now, and hungry.
Chopper then voices the most worrying possibility, the one that's grounded in the reality of their situation, that Luffy was beaten by Bellamy.
And this is a legitimate fear. Bellamy has a reputation for being dangerous and a crew of thugs. From a logical standpoint, this is the most likely reason for a delay after a confrontation. And Nami's response is perfect. She clenches her fist, and she says she'd never forgive him for that, even if he was on time. This is such a critical moment for her character arc. It's not about the schedule anymore, not about the money. It's about the fact that he'd better not have lost. It's about pride and trust.
She believes in his strength, which is why she feels she has the right to be mad at him. It's super deep when you think about it. And right on cue, the man himself returns, bursting with the energy of a champion.
But he's not carrying a giant sack of gold, the very thing that Nami had already calculated the weight of.
Nope, he's holding up a single giant Hercules beetle, and he is beaming with pride. He even named it Hercules. The crew's collective silence, the utter confusion. The look on all their blank faces is just priceless. It's one of Oda's best comedic beats. It's just a perfect Luffy moment.
He traded a mountain of treasure for a cool bug. In that one action, you understand his entire value system. Gold is a means to an end. It buys food, it helps people, but a giant rare beetle? That is pure unadulterated wonder. It's an experience. It's a story.
Because in that moment, the cool bug was the real treasure. That is our captain. And before Nami can even finish processing this monumental act of financial mismanagement, before she can even form the words to express her rage, Luffy sees the going merry.
And he's completely floored. His brain just short circuits. All thoughts of Beetles, gold, and Bellamy just vanish. He's just in total awe of the work Masira and Shoujo did. The chicken head, the wings, the reinforced hull. He's like a kid on Christmas morning seeing the toy he didn't even know he wanted. His eyes turn to stars. It's such a pure, wonderful reaction. He's not thinking about Skypiea or the gold or being late. He's just so happy that his ship, looks cool and is ready for an adventure.
It's a nice little detail that Oda pauses for. It's a moment of calm before the storm, literally. Before the life or death chaos, we get this moment of the crew just appreciating their home, their vessel. The Mary is as much a character as any of them, and here, it's getting its own power-up, its own moment to shine.
It's not a practical upgrade, it's an upgrade of spirit, of romance. This is what adventure looks like. Speaking of Oda, his author comment this week was pretty funny. Apparently he went to a big awards ceremony in beach sandals while everyone else was in a full suit, and the winners were scared of him.
He had to clarify that he's actually a nice guy, and he drew a little picture of himself looking goofy and non-threatening.
I love it. The creator of this wild, imaginative world is just walking around in beach sandals, not caring about stuffy formalities. It feels right. It feels like something Luffy would do. The spirit of the creator is infused in his creation.
It does. Back in the story, after admiring the ship, Luffy finally gets down to business. He makes sure Mont Blanc Cricket gets his family's gold back.
And this is such a powerful beat. It's so quiet, but it speaks volumes. Luffy did all of that, went back and beat Bellamy down, not for the treasure, but for the principle, to defend the dream of a man he just met. And then he just hands the gold back. No hesitation, no sense of I earned this.
Because in his mind, it was never his. It belonged to the story of Noland. He wasn't a thief recovering his loot. He was a friend returning a stolen heirloom. There's a profound difference.
Cricket tries to thank him for everything, for restoring his family's honor, for believing in him. And Luffy just deflects. He says to thank Masira and Shoujo for the ship upgrades.
Which is another perfect Luffy leadership moment. He shares the credit. He instinctively understands that this is a team effort. He knows they couldn't do this without the Saruryama alliance. Their expertise is just as crucial as his strength.
Then he offers them Hercules, the Beetle, as a thank you gift, and they are so genuinely touched. He's giving them his treasure, the thing he valued more than the gold, as payment. And they get it. These guys are dreamers. They get it.
It's a ridiculous gift, but it comes from such a sincere place that they accept it with gratitude. It's a transaction of respect, not of currency. It's a bond formed over a shared sense of adventure.
But then the urgency kicks back in. Reality crashes the party. Everyone, the Alliance, Cricket, they're all screaming at Luffy to get on the ship because they are out of time. Nami is probably having a full-blown aneurysm. As Luffy runs, Cricket has this quiet moment to himself.
He reflects on his ancestor, Mont Blanc Noland, in the 400 years of ridicule, how everyone has laughed at their family and their dream for generations. This isn't just his personal quest. He's carrying the weight of centuries of mockery.
And then he just roars. It's not just a yell, it's a release of a decade of pent-up hope and frustration. He yells at Masira and Shoujo, "Don't screw this up. Give it everything you've got for the Straw Hats." The dream isn't just his anymore. He's passed the torch.
He's entrusting the culmination of his entire life's work, his family's legacy, to this kid in a straw hat he's known for less than a day.
And Luffy just hears it, turns his head mid-stride, and gives this huge, confident smile. He understands the weight of what he's carrying. He's not burdened by it, he's energized by it.
That panel is everything. It's the promise. It's the inherited will. It's the title of our damn podcast right there on the page. He doesn't need to say a word. That smile says, I got this. It's the smile of a man who accepts fate and is ready to meet it head on.
As they prepare to cast off, Cricket gives them one last piece of encouragement. He says that while no one has ever proven the City of Gold or Sky Island exist,
there's been no one who's ever proven they don't exist either.
Chills every time. That is the entire thesis statement of One Piece right there in one line. The absence of proof is not the proof of absence. If a dream is possible, even a 0.01% chance, you chase it. That's what separates the Bellamys of the world from the Luffys.
It's the core philosophy of the golden age of piracy within the story. It is the engine that drives every adventurer out onto the sea. And with that, they finally depart. It's a beautiful, emotional send-off, full of hope and purpose. But of course, Oda immediately cuts to the looming threat.
Blackbeard? Ugh, just seeing him ruins the good mood. His crew is on their sad little raft made of logs, which is such a great visual contrast to the souped-up Going Merry. And he confirms it. They are hunting Luffy.
Okay, but think about what this means from a strategic standpoint. He knows Luffy is going to Sky Island, and unlike almost everyone else who laughed, he listened and took it seriously. He is one of the only people in the world who seems to understand who Luffy is and what he represents.
That makes him so much scarier. He's not underestimating Luffy for a second. He knows that if Luffy makes it up to the sky, he'll be nearly impossible to track. So this is his one shot to catch him.
This is the first time we're seeing Blackbeard as an active antagonist with a specific goal tied to Luffy. In Drum Kingdom, he was a force of nature that passed by. In Mocktown, he was a philosophical counterpoint. Now, he's the predator, and Luffy is the prey. The race is on.
And it's not just a race, it's a plot. A monster who wants to capture him to become a warlord. He's not just trying to fight Luffy for clout or to test his strength. He's making a calculated political move to gain power and access within the world government structure. That's way scarier than just a strong guy who wants a fight.
Exactly. It shows his ambition is on a completely different scale. He is playing chess with the world, and Luffy is currently his most valuable pawn to be captured. It adds a new, sinister layer of tension to this whole departure. The Straw Hats think their only challenge is the stream, but there's a monster on their tail who understands the world stage far better than they do.
A monster on a dinky little raft, though. You gotta love the contrast. Meanwhile, back on the Going Merry, the mood is slightly different.
Slightly is an understatement. The transition is jarring in the best way. We go from Blackbeard's world-altering ambitions back to the chaotic microcosm of the Straw Hat crew.
Masira and Shoju are trying to explain the precise, time-sensitive nature of their journey, how Luffy's lateness has complicated things and narrowed their window of opportunity, and Luffy is just completely ignoring them, not out of malice, but because his attention span has been captured by something far more interesting.
He's playing with the Southbird.
He's just turning its head to see it snap back to the south. He and Usopp are dying laughing like it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. It's this perfect little pocket of levity amidst the life or death tension. The navigator's stressing, the experts are stressing, and the captain is poking a bird.
Chopper is translating for the bird, which is getting increasingly annoyed. The dialogue is wonderful. It says, "Hey, cut it out. Stop it." It even tries to face north out of spite, straining itself, before its biology betrays it and it snaps back south.
The Sarayuma Alliance guys are a little annoyed, but they basically just sigh and say worrying won't help. They know who they're dealing with. You just gotta roll with the punches when you're with Monkey D. Luffy. They signed up for this. They saw him trade gold for a beetle. They know what they're in for.
This scene is so important, though. It might seem like filler, but it shows why Luffy succeeds. He's not burdened by the how. He just knows the where. He has absolute faith that they'll get there, so he's free to enjoy the journey, no matter how absurd or dangerous it becomes. He doesn't carry the anxiety.
He outsources the worrying to Nami and the crew. It's efficient. It's a great management strategy.
I suppose that's one way to look at it. 3 hours pass, and the mood shifts. Then they see it.
The Millennium Cumulonimbus. This thing is a monster. Oda's drawing of it is incredible. A cloud that looks like a continent, dark and swirling with lightning. It's not just a weather pattern, it looks like a living creature hanging in the sky. It's an hour early, but the Alliance doesn't miss a beat.
This is where their professionalism shines. The moment of truth arrives, and they are ready. They immediately send their divers into the water to find the exact point of the stream. This is their moment, the culmination of their life's work, just as it is for cricket.
And Shoju uses his sonar power, his roaring, to map the ocean floor. I love seeing how practical their abilities are. These aren't just devil fruits for fighting, they're tools for their trade. They're professional salvagers and dream chasers. Shoju isn't just a guy who screams loud, he's a living sonar system. It's such a clever application of a power.
His sonar picks up 3 things: a strong current straight ahead, a sea queen to the right,
and to the northwest at 10 o'clock, giant, chaotic waves, a sign of a massive whirlpool forming. The way Oda draws the sound waves mapping the ocean is just so cool.
Masira, hearing the report, immediately identifies it. With a grim certainty, he says, "That's it. That's the spot. Not the calm current, not the sea king, the chaos, the vortex."
So they start pulling the Going Merry with their own strength with their ships directly towards a giant whirlpool. The Straw Hats are just now realizing what this actually entails.
I don't think Nami's plan involved sail into the drain.
Robin's first instinct is to check the log posts, to seek confirmation from the world's own bizarre logic. She asks Nami, and Nami confirms it's still pointing straight up, right at the cloud, right over the center of the vortex.
Even the fundamental laws of their world are confirming that this insanity is the correct path. I love that. The world of One Piece is telling them, yes, sail into the vortex. That's the way. The compass of their world is pointing them towards what should be certain death.
Shoujo and Masira are almost giddy with professional excitement. They say the conditions are perfect, the timing, the currents, everything is aligned for a textbook knock-up stream. They're like mission control at NASA seeing a perfect launch window.
And Luffy, with stars in his eyes, completely unfazed by the sight of the ocean trying to swallow itself, just asks, so can we get there? Not, is it safe? Not, what's the plan? Just, can we go? It's the only question that matters to him.
They assure him they can. They're literally pulling the ship into the mouth of the beast themselves. The whirlpool is growing, becoming this colossal vortex. The art does such a fantastic job of conveying the sheer scale of it. And then they drop the final piece of information, the final instruction for this insane journey.
They have to go to the center.
And the crew has a full spectrum of reactions laid out in one perfect moment.
It is the most perfect, concise, brilliant summary of the entire crew's personality in one moment. Let's break it down. Nami is screaming. Her face is a mask of pure terror. It was never explained that they'd have to sail into the hurricane made of water. This was not in the plan. She is the voice of Sanity, and Sanity is screaming, abort!
Usopp is right there with her, freaking out, tears and snot flying. He wants to turn back. It's pure, relatable terror. He and Nami represent the human element, the part of us that recognizes when we are in over our heads.
Then you have Sanji. He's not screaming in fear, he's gritting his teeth, a cigarette clenched, and he's immediately promising to protect Nami and Robin. His priorities never waver. The world could be ending, and his first thought is, are the ladies okay? He turns the fear into protective determination.
Chopper is actually excited. You can see the little sparkles in his eyes. He's thinking about the ship flying. He's caught up in the fantasy of it, the pure adventure. The immediate danger is secondary to the incredible thing that's about to happen.
And then you've got the other end of the spectrum. Robin, that's you, is just calmly remarking on the size of the whirlpool. What a large whirlpool. It's not fear, it's not excitement, it's a detached, intense curiosity. It's a phenomenon to be observed and analyzed. This is the most interesting thing she's seen all week.
It's a historical and scientific marvel unfolding before her eyes. The desire to witness it outweighs the instinct for self-preservation.
And Zoro just says, it's too late now. Classic. Absolutely classic Zoro. Pragmatic, accepting, almost bored by the panic. We're here, we're doing it, stop whining. He knows there's no talking Luffy out of this, so he's already accepted their course. His fatalism is his strength.
And then there's Luffy, the anchor point for all these chaotic reactions.
He is absolutely ecstatic. His grin is a mile wide. His arms are spread like he wants to hug the abyss. This isn't an obstacle. This is the entire point. This is the adventure he's been waiting for. The sheer, unfiltered joy on his face as he sails towards what should be certain death is what makes him the future king of the pirates. It is super.
It's the ultimate test of faith, not just in the existence of Sky Island, but in their captain and in their ship. They have to believe they can survive this, and they can only believe it because he is grinning like a madman. His confidence becomes their shield.
What a cliffhanger. They are on the literal edge of the abyss, being pulled in, and we just have to wait to see what happens next. That's how you end a chapter. You put your characters in an impossible situation and cut to black. Masterful.
It really is. The stakes are immense, and the reactions feel so incredibly real for each of them. It's a perfect character portrait painted against a backdrop of cataclysmic nature.
Absolutely. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen inside that whirlpool. Is it a calm eye of the storm or just pure chaos all the way up? I want to see the physics debates.
I'm interested to see the theories. Shall we move on to our predictions for Chapter 236?
Let's do it. You go first.
Okay, my first prediction is that the journey up the stream will not be a simple vertical launch. I think they'll be thrown around inside a column of water, and they'll encounter bizarre sea life from the deep ocean that has been sucked up along with them. Maybe even that sea king that Shoujo detected earlier. It will be less of an elevator and more of a chaotic vertical rapids.
Ooh, I like that. A vertical aquarium of death. My first one is that the wings and the chicken head modifications aren't just for show. I predict the Mary will start to break apart under the strain. The sheer pressure will be immense, and Usopp will have to make some kind of desperate on-the-fly repair or adjustment using those new parts to keep them from being crushed by the water pressure. A real moment for him to step up as the ship's protector in the most extreme environment imaginable.
That feels very plausible. It would give those seemingly cosmetic additions a vital, functional purpose. My second prediction connects back to Blackbeard. I don't think he'll be able to follow them up the stream. I predict the chapter will end with a short scene of his raft being wrecked by the sheer scale of the whirlpool's outer waves, forcing him to find another, more difficult route to the sky. It establishes the knock upstream as a truly unique and hard-to-access path, solidifying the Straw Hat's achievement.
Yeah, that makes sense. It keeps him as a threat, but doesn't put him in Skypiea immediately. It would be too soon for that confrontation. Okay, my second prediction is about the crew dynamics inside the stream. I think Nami's navigational skills are going to be critical even inside the vortex. It won't be a passive ride. She'll have to read the insane currents within the stream itself, shouting commands to Zoro and Sanji to adjust their heading, to keep them from crashing into the wall of water. It will prove again that she's the only one who could guide this crew through something like this.
So the chaos is navigable in a way. I like that. It empowers her in a situation where she feels powerless. She would be able to conquer her fear by applying her intellect and skill to it.
Exactly. All right, last one?
Last one for me. We're going to get a very specific piece of lore. As they're ascending, they're going to see something impossible embedded in the column of water with them. Maybe the ruins of another ship from a different era, or a strange artifact from a lost civilization, or even a poneglyph fragment frozen in a pocket of water that serves as the first concrete proof that other people have made this journey before, successfully or not. A little hint of the history of Skypiea before they arrive.
That's a good one. A little breadcrumb from Oda. That feels very much like his style. My last prediction is that we're going to see the Southbird have a key role. I think the magnetic field, or whatever natural law governs it, will go haywire inside the stream, and the log post will become useless. But instead of just spinning uselessly, the Southbird will point directly at the exit, the calmest path through the chaos, acting as a living compass to guide them out of the top of the stream when everything else fails. Luffy's decision to play with it will turn out to be accidentally brilliant, as it so often is.